Good afternoon. Emmett the God Singer here. Today we're going to talk about the Karate Kid. Now, the Karate Kid was, we should preface this, I was about 7, going to school in Southern California. And this was in the 60s, so you walked to school. I was in second grade, I think. You walked to school. We walked to school. I lived on the mountainside, so we walked uphill about a mile and a half to school. And then downhill back. It wasn't uphill in both directions. Although I tell my kids sometimes it was. Anyway, there was this, I was a very shy, very small for my age. And, I didn't like to fight. I was the kid that was always getting the lunchbox knocked out of his hand and thrown in the trash, and I'd have to dig it out of the trash if I wanted to eat my lunch. And it was just this constant, so I just tried to keep to myself as much as possible. But there was this kid, loudmouth, boisterous, little blonde-haired, kid, and he was a bully. He's just a plain bully, and he just had it in for me for some reason, and he would chase me all the way home because he wanted to beat me up, wanted to show me what it was, and I've since learned, and I kind of knew even back then that bullies, there's something, I won't say there's something not right with them, but most bullies, you find they've got something missing. They're not getting the love they need or the attention they need. So they puff themselves up, puff way up to be bigger than they actually are. And most of them are just puffed up with air, There's nothing inside. Everything that should be inside is missing. And this boy was just that. He was a bully. And he would chase me home. This went on for about a month. I was just outrunning him to get home, And I was the oldest kid in my family, so I didn't have a big brother. Or buddy, I'd have called him, And this went on for months, running. Little kid with my lunchbox, running as fast as I could to get home. And, finally one day I had enough. I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna. So I prayed about what should I do, God? He said, give him the dime in your pocket. I'm like, but that's my dime, And back in the 60s, a dime was a lot of money. You could buy a whole bag of candy with a dime, So I said, all right. So I stopped. I just stopped dead. And it startled him because he'd been chasing me for weeks, I just stopped dead in this field. And I told him, I said, you know what? I got a dime in my pocket, and I'll give you a dime to be my friend. And he's like, you got a dime in your pocket? I'm like, yeah, I got a dime. I pull it out. See, here it is. It's a dime in my pocket. And if you'll be friends with me, I'll give you this dime. So he's like, yeah, okay. He says, I don't have any friends, I was just thinking I could make some friends if I beat you up, but I said, nah, nobody likes me anyway, so it's not gonna, won't do anything to beat me up. They'll just say, oh, you beat up Emmett, big deal. So I gave him the dime, and he stopped chasing me, and we started talking, and I'm like, you want to go over, to the house? And he's like, yeah, And it turns out, and he was a latchkey kid in 1967. He lived in like a 4-story apartment with just his mom. He was a single, he had a single parent, which is a big problem, Even back then, even today, it's a big problem. That's a whole other conversation. But he came over, and my mom was, for all intents and purposes, and people don't know what it is now, but my mom was the Kool-Aid mom. We didn't live in an apartment. We lived in a house, and we had a big backyard. About an acre. It was a big backyard. And I could always count on Mom to, my mother was very outgoing and loved everybody. So I said, "Hi, Mom, this is," and I think his name was Tommy or Kevin, I don't remember, but I said, "We'll call him Tommy." I said, "Mama, this is Tommy. And he's my friend." "Well, hi, Tommy, how you doing? Come on in," and I had some cookies and juice and stuff like that, and talked and had a good time. And he said, after a while he said, I better get home. I need to be home by a certain hour because my mom's going to call me on the telephone. That's all right. And Trinity lived down the street, about half mile down the street in the apartment building down there. It was a little city called Montrose, California. I said, "Okay, I'll walk with you." So, we walked and, hiked up the stairs in the 4-story apartment. He goes, "Well, this is my apartment." I said, "Okay, well, I'll see you later." He says, back then we didn't go in somebody's house if the parent wasn't home. You just don't do that, and they didn't have video games, so there wasn't much to do. And he's like, so we were standing at the door talking. He's like, "Hey, you want to see my gi?" I'm like, "What's a gi?" He goes, "Oh, it's my karate uniform. It's called a gi." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, cool." So he brings out this. So he goes up, brings it out, and it's on a hanger, and he's so proud. He's got this karate. It's white and had a white belt. So which means he hadn't been doing it too long, but he says my uncle signed me up for karate, and I'm taking karate lessons once a week. And I'm gonna be a karate man. I said, "Oh, that's cool, man. I wish I could do that. My parents can't afford that, but that'd be cool." He says, "I tell you what, each week after the lesson, I'll come over to your house and I'll teach you everything they taught me." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds cool." So we did that, and we became very good friends. And he would go to his karate lessons, and he would, get on his little Schwinn bike and ride down to my house. And we would sit out in the backyard or in the bedroom or something, and he would teach me all the moves and all the mantras and everything he learned. So I took karate lessons through Tommy, and we had a lot of fun. You just have to remember, we moved to Ohio a couple years after that, and I lost contact with him, and I don't know whatever happened to him, But he did go to church with me, a few times. There was a church across the street. It was a big, big Baptist church or Methodist or something. A bunch. To me, I was 7, so it was just old people in suits, singing hymns out of the book. But I would go there every Sunday by myself, and my mom would give me a nickel, and I would just go to Sunday school most of the time. I didn't stay for the big church because I was 7. And he came with me a few times because it was a nice, it was a nice little church. They had the typical, the old lady with the felt board stories and told stories of Jesus and the apostles and, and brought it to life. And we learned a lot and had a lot of fun until we moved. But I learned a lot from Tommy. And I found out ever since then, every time I meet a bully now, 99% of the time, it's just somebody who's empty inside and has nothing to fill it with. So they got to show off. So people, and they have their little minions that they're not real friends. They're just followers. But that's the story of the Karate Kid. 1967, I was 7 years old. We had a good time. Maybe I'll see him in heaven. But that's the story for today. One walk, 1,000 testimonies. See you next time. Love God. Keep your coffee warm.